Hey guys, welcoming you to another edition of the Runeterra Report. I'm your host, Rob Leonix, and I'm joined here today to talk about the spring split LCS playoffs of 2014 with Complexity Jera,
Hello.
Complexity Gaming's analyst, Trent Murray, writer for LoL Esports, and the god amongst men, arguably the biggest fan of Cloud9 probably out there, Mr. Aldo. Round of applause for him. Today we're just going to go over a couple quick topics. Actually, you know what? Last time I said quick, this ran over 2 hours or whatnot. But we're going to go over just some overall trends of what's happening in the NALCS postseason, and also the two days of gaming of the playoffs, and also that third day coming up tomorrow, and what we're going to be predicting off the playoffs and what's going to happen in All-Stars. So let's talk about what's been going on these past 2 days in the playoffs, and what really has... I just have a whole bunch of just emotional feelings bottled up, ready to pour out on the table. Jera, can you tell me what was going on in that first day of CLG, Coast, Curse, and Dignitas? Give me the rundown.
Oh, it was a very interesting day. CLG had a very interesting series with Curse, and CLG won the series 2-1 against Curse. Pretty interesting days. Very, very interesting games. We'll go into that a little bit further. I don't remember the second one. CLG Coast and Dig Curse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trent, is there anything like that we should be like focusing on in particular, picks and bans? What exactly gone on with the playoffs with the new patch? Was that a huge difference, or what's going on? From what I've been reading on the interwebs, everyone's pissed that patch 4.5 is ridiculous right before playoffs.
It was a pretty major change to bring into the game for the playoffs, but I do think that it brought a lot of interesting stuff that made these games a whole lot more interesting to watch. I mean, we saw Jin Zhao and Nocturne back. Mundo made a reappearance. We saw forever Soraka bans, which was just heartbreaking for me. And one of the biggest things, I think, from the Dignitas Curse matchup on that first day was that Dignitas had Nidalee every single game, which to me says that Scara's champion pool got hurt, especially with Gragas being disabled and some of the assassins not being as viable anymore. It seemed like they really only had one trick to go with, and obviously it didn't work out for them.
Mm-hmm. What's your opinion, Aldo, on what's going on here? Like, do you like these Soraka picks? I mean, I know you like bananas. You
love them. I guess Soraka's fine. I don't know. It's kind of a niche pick. I don't see like Voy running it, or it works well with the teams that have picked it. But yeah, definitely not for everyone.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Soraka at all. Like, the first time you see it, like, wow, that's interesting. The first time you played against in solo, you're like, oh my god, this is annoying. And then kind of when you see, like, it's huge what it can really do in a team fight and how it really does change the game. It extends team fights to go much longer than you were anticipating for. And especially with the summoner heal change, you can't really kill the Soraka very easily. So now you're just going to have this person putting out Starfalls every second and a half, shredding your magic resist, dealing massive AoE damage in a team fight, and you can't kill it. So you have a lot of issues dealing with the Soraka at that point. So seeing her banned it's kind of refreshing.
What are you guys' thoughts and opinions on Riot doing this with patch 4.5, almost changing a bit of the meta with AD carries, top laners, and whatnot running heal over Ignite, and practically cleansing Ignite and making it useless now? And nerfing Barrier? Is that what happened?
Nope.
No, Barrier, just heal is better. That's right. With the 30% movement speed, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know why they added the movement speed to heal. It seems like something they should have gone to cleanse, because automatically you're going to heal you and one targeted ally for 90 at level 1. So that's 180 damage, which is more absorption than your barrier would do, on top of a speed buff. And they also removed they also removed the debuff from previously, that if you healed the same target, before, if you tried to heal somebody, they would only get half of the amount healed, but they didn't add that that little debuff to it when they went to 4.5. So it's ridiculously strong, and it can really help you evade all sorts of ganks.
So I have a list here with picks roughly around what's going on. Jack's been banned 7 times, winning 4 and losing 2 with a 66% win rate. What do you guys think about Jack's picks in top lane with all our bruisers and tanks up there? And that goes to anyone.
Better when Jax is in it. I love Jax. Jax makes for interesting plays, interesting split pushing, fun escapes, jumping into 5 people with Counter-Strike on. It's just a really interesting champion to watch, and I think this shift towards more playmaking top laners is going to be a lot more entertaining moving into the next split than we've seen this split with just the Mundo and Shyvana and Trundle over and over and over again.
Yeah, we also have Dr. Mundo here with 2 wins and 4 losses. Are we seeing a meta shift? Are we seeing him falling out of the game? He's been out of the game for a while now. Insights, Auto?
2 top laners?
So Dr. Mundo being picked, and yeah.
Nah, I don't think he'll be around that long, especially since the few wins that he saw were with teleport and heal, which I found to be really odd. But
Actually, let's talk about that. So with teleport and heal and exhaust. What exactly were the changes of exhaust? Yeah.
50% damage reduction.
Oh, is it 50%?
I think it's only, and a 30% movement speed reduction, I believe. So they took out a lot of the movement speed before you would get stuck and slowed down, but you'd still be able to do a decent amount of damage. And then they kind of flipped it the other way around, so you don't do a lot of damage, but you can still move away a bit quicker.
Do you think
it's a very defensive spell now, more than kind of an offensive pick type of thing, to lock down a snare or a CC from like a Leona or a Thresh.
Do you think this was aimed directly to bot lane, or was it just a complete game changer now that heal applies to all the members and whatnot, and barrier has been changed? I mean, not changed, but barrier has been deemed obsolete, as you would say. So are we used to seeing 3 heals now? Exhaust sucks, or just everybody stack heal? What are we gonna see in the exhaust is good? Just it has to be one person, really, right?
Yeah, it's really good against assassins.
You definitely want to run it in your bot lane because of the Feral Flare champs that are coming up.
All right. Well,
you get to exhaust and get out.
Actually, go over Feral Flare. Tell me exactly what that is, and I know it's an item, but tell it for our viewers. Like, what makes this item deemed so amazing?
I guess I'll take this one. Feral Flare, it's basically an evolution of the Wriggles Lantern, where it rewards you for forming jungle minion camps, the large minions. And what this does is it gives an infinitely scaling buff to you once you complete this evolution, that whenever you get an assist kill or you kill a big minion camp, you gain additional bonus damage on attack that also adds life on hit. So what you can have is this incredibly high scaling attack damage bonus, as well as healing on it, that really gives you a lot of sustain in fights and a lot of additional damage, more so than what your generic jungler item would do, such as the Spirit of the Elder Lizard. So you'll get a much higher damage output, and it's if you build it early enough and you get your stacks quick enough, it becomes a very cost-efficient item.
What champs do you see deemed viable now when they weren't viable back then, since the introduction to Feral Flare?
Xin Zhao's a big one. That's seen quite a bit of play. A champ that came back a lot. Maybe not in LCS, but Shaco's another big one because of his clear time.
A very popular solo queue kind of pick now.
Yeah.
Back.
Obviously Nocturne.
Nocturne's
And
big too.
Nocturne's the big one.
Even though that they just moving on off of that, even though that they nerfed, I meant not nerfed, added bonus armor to towers and things like that. What's going on with these fast 2v1 push strategies? We haven't seen an actual 2v2 in quite some time, and when they do, it doesn't pan out as well. Why have we shifted to this? And why am I seeing the top laner down bottom, 4-man pushing lanes? What's going on?
Yeah. All right. I'll explain this one because we'll have to go a little bit of brief history. Before patch 4.5, what we saw was your traditional 3-man push on a lane, where your top lane would go to pseudo defend the solo tower that's being triple pushed, as well as trying to catch as much farm. And usually the timing that tower falls is around 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which is about the time that the third minion wave hits the tower. So what happened was a few people experimented and found out that if you added in an additional kind of attack speed champion like a Jax, a Lee Sin, you could actually push the towers down on the second wave, giving you an additional 30 seconds. So what this does is give you another time or a 30-second increase on when you can take a turret before they get theirs. So ultimately, you'll be getting 2 towers for the price of 1 if they choose not to adapt this 4-person push.
Mm-hmm. With the 4-man push, I know that like last episode we were talking about. I was like saying, oh, why don't if Top's gonna take some jungle camps, why don't he just go jungle, run a machetes? I know it's not cost effective at all, and now we have the 4-man push. Okay? So from my understanding, is it just because lane phase is boring to watch? Do you think it's an entertainment thing, or
No, I've actually heard more people prefer the laning phase to the
Really?
split push because it's so common now.
opinions?
But, yeah, another thing that the push
Okay,
strategy
good.
brings, is that you used to see a lot of top laners get dove by the dual lane and the jungler, which was not very safe and could kind of throw games from a really early start. And so now that you have everyone on one side pushing together, it's more of a fair trade, and there's much less risk involved.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
there's
another
a
thing
really
that it
good
brings.
example in the last game between CLG and TSM, and I know we'll get into it in more detail, but that game was fairly standard matchups, and they put a pretty heavy focus onto Nien, TSM did in the top lane, and shut him down and made him irrelevant in that last game. And if they had done the 2-tower split push and had Nien safely farming all the way back at his inhibitor tower, taking waves, then that wouldn't have happened, and he would have had the items to contend with Dyrus, and it might have changed the way that the game went.
Definitely.
We'll actually go over that on day 1 of the summer split playoffs. We had CLG versus Coast. CLG took it. Can you run me through just the 2 games? I'm pretty sure it wasn't an all-star match or whatnot, but everyone was kind of expecting what were your guys' opinion? CLG was going to stomp, or was it going to be a 2-1? I personally believed it was going to be a 2-0.
Yeah,
I think we
sure
all
it was going to
did.
be a 2-0.
I think one of like
CLG's looking way too strong.
Yeah, I think probably like one of the more brilliant plays of that match was that CLG was able to anticipate the level 1 invade from Coast. That pretty much, for some reason, Coast thought it would be a good idea to invade the red buff on red side, which is kind of a no-no because you really want to invade the blue buff when you are on the red side. And so they kind of had this strange setup that they were going to go steal the red buff, and CLG read that beautifully and had a fan perfectly around that it would bait people to go into the bush after they landed a crowd control, and then CLG, which had the better team fight, would just be able to smash them really quickly. And I feel that was a major part in why CLG was able to shut down Coast so early. Xin Zhao had to burn his flash, had to return to base. So it turned out that CLG ended up getting 3 buffs at the beginning, and Xin Zhao from Coast on Nintendo Dex, he only got one buff, and that really set him behind, especially as a Feral Fire jungler. His impact on the game was incredibly minimal.
Okay, and you said that Xin Zhao blew his flash and stuff like that. I actually also remember was Fusion getting caught on Ezreal. He had to burn flash as well. Tell me this is a question for anyone. Tell me, I know burning a flash, going to lane in solo queue can be a lot different from coming to the lane without flash and LCS. And is that determined? Oh, we lost lane already, or is it can someone come back from that? What did Team Coast have to do? And that question's up in the air for anybody.
You usually can work with it, but not when it's against Doublelift and Aframo. Like, Aframo and Doublelift knew exactly how to push with Fusion out of lane, coming in with less than half health and no summoners. Like, how can you expect to trade with Doublelift with such a disadvantage?
Yeah, a Lucian Lulu bot lane against an Ezreal Thresh. If you get poked out, they have no sustain there, and there's just a lot of poke coming out of Lulu and Lucian. So if they poke him out of lane, you're going to be farming from the tower, and it's going to be incredibly difficult. And so you're going to wind up being, about 20 CS behind, trying to figure out.
That would have been a hard lane regardless for Wiz Fusion, and then they got that huge deficit to start with. It was terrible.
Yeah, looking at the end score, there was Doublelift ended the match with 290 CS, and Wiz Fusion only got 207. And this is in a 29-minute game, so just a huge disparity where Doublelift was almost at 10 CS a minute, while Wiz Fusion was, almost at 7. So just the income for Doublelift was just so much better, and it really was set up from having that laning phase, which Doublelift and Afro knew they could win.
Yeah.
Right. With that being said, pretty much COG carries on to TSM, which we'll get later too. But I want to talk about Dig versus Curse and how sad that match was. Because they got rid of Golden Glue, and veteran Scar lied to us and said that he was retiring, but instead came back. Trent, what are your thoughts on that? Since you've been riding over there, LO Esports, what's the rundown?
Well, I think one of the big things we've learned is that no one retires. Everyone, when they say they're retiring,
it's a
they're gonna
lie.
come back for one more ride. They're retired until their team decides that they're coming back. But to me, the big thing in that we learned about Dig and Curse is that these are two teams that historically have always been the next teams. Back in the day, it was TSM and CLG, and then Dignitas and Curse, and that's how it's always been. And I think for this particular matchup, after that first game, Curse remembered what their champion pools were and went back to what they know, and for whatever reason, Dignitas allowed them to go back to Mundo and Lulu in the third game and really deserved to lose after champion select.
With that, I have here Scara only playing Nidalee. What's your opinions on that as well?
It's a tribute to Hotshot GG.
Well, I think we touched on it earlier. His Gragas was taken away. Assassins are a lot weaker in this patch. It was a really highly contested pick. Yeah, we should have seen Karthus in that matchup, but I think for a lot of teams are really highly valuing Nidalee. She was a highly contested pick in the European playoffs throughout all 3 days. Just for whatever reason on this particular patch, we saw Bjergsen play it today. A lot of teams are really highly valuing Nidalee on this new patch.
She's very... she can carry the game really hard. Of course, she has her weaknesses in the early game, but if you do make it to the 20 and 25-minute mark and you're not significantly behind, she can make an immense impact on the game just by landing one spear. You can pretty much decide now we can get an objective for free because this person either has to go to a camp and lifesteal back or return to base and home guard. In other words, it just relieves a lot of pressure on the map by landing a single spear.
On the other side, if you
Uh,
don't land any spears, then you
You
just
have no impact. Yeah.
yeah. Like,
well, I mean, Dig made great job with Nidalee in the first game. They took the first game, and Curse comes back to sweep it. What do you think Curse had to do to get in the mindset of, oh, well, if we lose one more, we're out? How do you come back from just a snowballed lead of, I meant snowball game effect of, oh, if we lose one more, we're going to be we can quite possibly be relegated.
Well, I think the real reason of what happened was in the first game they had an extremely good roaming game. Like they would be moving between towers very quickly and switching lanes so fast that when they were able to tell, like, hey, this person's going to go defend top, let's push mid, and they were able to make these quick rotations really fast and take out towers so quickly that there's just no way to deal with it. That Curse would either have to invest significantly on ward vision. And I believe they played Lucian as their AD carry that first game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like a big thing about going into game 2 and 3 was that they chose Graves, which doesn't have the same pushing effect as a Lucian would have and just doesn't make as much of an impact. Lucian's double shot is a huge thing. His ability to escape slows really gives him a lot more mobility. But when you switch it to Graves, he's a bit more... He's just a little clunkier, I would say. And I feel that's a huge reason why Dignitas did not pick up either of the next 2 games in the series.
Do you have any thoughts on Golden Glue being swapped out? I know that you have a certain connection with them, and is there some underlying story there or whatnot?
I honestly don't know. I think that it was a more of a team decision that was based off of Dignitas rather than like, hey, Golden Glue, you're not very good. I just think that if you watch the interview video, it seemed like everybody was really pumped to have Scar around, and it was more of a morale boost than it was, say, like, we need a really strong player for this tournament. No, they just feel really comfortable with the house dad being there or their captain.
Do you have any idea who makes the shot calling in Dignitas?
From what I'm told, it's kind of it goes around. Scar has been trying to back out of it because he does not plan on being on the team. So he's really looking to see like who wants to step up and do this. Is it going to be Crumbs? Is it going to be Kiwi Kid? And I feel like
since you know Golden Glue personally, do you know if he's a vocal player? Because if he's not, then that could be another reason to replace him for these matches.
Yeah, Golden Glue is not a shot caller. He was when he was on Complexity Red. He was not the shot caller. We would be telling him like, "Hey, we need you to go here," and we really relied on him for his mechanical skill more so than his game knowledge, which is kind of the exact opposite of Skara, who has incredible game knowledge, but maybe not the most mechanically sound player.
I personally believe right there, like picking up Golden Glue and putting him into the seats of a veteran. I would assume that he's not the shot caller just because I'm moving from the amateur circuit to professional scene. I'm gonna follow these guys and just let them tell me what to do.
It's very hard to recruit a shot caller for your team, and that's why when teams they replace and they desperately need a shot caller, it's often they will have to go out and give up prime roles to figure out who is this person. What role does the shot caller want to play? He's getting it, and then kind of like shift around that. And I feel like maybe that's one of the reasons why CLG had a lot of problems trying to figure out, okay, who wants a shot call? Okay, you get the most comfortable role, and you get to be the shot caller. And it's kind of nice they found like their happy medium.
Thoughts on who carried that game? Really, was it the MVPs of the both side, Scar versus Voyboy? Who really determined? I personally believe Dominate really stepped up his game when Game 2 rolled around. He was just like, you know what? I'm going to crush Dignitas and what everything that they stood for. Is the junglers in that game the ones that carried, or what are your guys' opinions on that?
I think Quas
Well, we can't
carried
say
really hard.
the way
Quas did
that
a great job.
the way that Curse's lineup worked out, it kind of played to everyone on the team's strengths. Like, Cop had a 7-1-7 KDA on Lucian and was in the back just making plays. Voyboy got Lulu and racked up assists and had two frontline tanks who both got to run in and just wreak havoc, and Dominate was able to make plays early on Jin Zhao. Even Bunny got his pick, the only thing that he really plays other than Thresh. Like their lineup really was exactly what Curse wanted to do in that game, and it really felt like it was almost just a failure on Dignitas's side in the pick and ban phase, more so than it even was the play in the game. Just how comfortable Curse got to be with their team comp.
Mm-hmm. I know that day one was kind of a sweep on both sides. The only one really being contested is Dignitas and Curse, and Curse comes out with the win, and they move on to Cloud9. Day two, much anticipated, the rivalry between TSM and CLG going 2-1. CLG taking that first game, and TSM flipping the board. Game one.
Mid-game.
Yeah.
They flipped the board mid-game.
Mid game, right out with the 1.5 marker, right? Not even taking the complete win. But I want to talk about game one and the global comp of TF, Nocturne, bringing TF back to the mid lane, and how Link, Lulu back to what, bot lane? That's what it was.
Yep, Lulu support. Mm-hmm. And the Shyvana, the teleport Shyvana. That was, the teleport was a big part of it. This whole, like, they could be anywhere, and they can go on anyone, and they could dive at any point that they chose to.
It was a huge. It was a beautiful game. It was definitely a beautiful game because, hardest? Is it the hardest, like, fastest TSM loss? Is that the fastest?
27:57. I believe that's one of the quickest games that TSM has lost. Can't say
Auto, do you know
around 24.
Yeah, Auto, do you know what Cloud9's win, or?
It was definitely in the 30s.
It's definitely in 30s? Okay.
Yeah.
So definitely the hardest that TSM has ever lost in a game. I personally thought it was very surprising. I thought it was not going to come out as fast as that, or like as one-sided. I thought all the games were going to be relatively close. I know that I'm very biased with COG, but I'm definitely going to say TSM, which statistically is way better. And I thought it was going to be, we're going to see these bars slightly just be 50-50. No, it was one-sided on game one. But game two, what happened? I want to know.
Game two, the CLG took a lot of the momentum from game one and carried it over, and they played a very solid game. Let me see if I could pull up the picks right there. They were using a Jax, Nocturne, and Nami. Kind of like the same quasi-global presence with an Orianna for kind of the support mage in the mid. And what they would try and do is get the mid lane wombo combo. They would start off the fight with a Nocturne ult, and they would cast a Nami ult from the side to flank. And because of the darkness, you don't know where the Nami ult is going to hit from, so you don't really have a chance to dodge. So that'll knock them up. Nocturne flies in on his target. Orianna brings them all together, and then you have Vayne, who's kind of the outlier here, just off-picking her own targets. It worked really well for the first few fights.
Is it just because Wild Turtle picks Lucian? I mean, everyone knows that Double Lift has been playing a crap ton of Lucian as well. With the 80 carry contested picks, do you really think that you can even ban out 80 carries off of Double Lift and Wild Turtle? What are their main particular focuses on picks and bans between CLG and TSM?
At this point, you don't go to ban the 80 carry personally. You go to mess up the team comp. Because you know that CLG is going to have these really good rotational games. And so take away the Lucian, and they can't. Okay, so like in game one, when they flipped the tower push, you usually see it on the opposite side. But they did it on the bot lane, and they got the two towers off of bot lane. And that was only doable because they had Lucian. Like any other 80 carry would not have matched the same speed.
I know in episode one, Karma was we were talking about Karma and throwing it out like, oh, we're gonna see Karma in the meta, and I personally didn't believe it, but Bjergsen, game 2, pentakill. Trent, what are your thoughts?
I'm always a huge fan of supports getting pentakills, even if they're being played by mid laners. I think it's just the most exciting thing that can happen. There was a pentakill in the Europe playoffs, but it was on an AD carry, and even the rest of Gambit, because Genja got the pentakill, the rest of Gambit was like, yeah, he just kind of right-clicks champions and just happened to get the last kill. It wasn't really that special. But for Bjergsen, with really only one damaging ability on his champion to pick off all 5 members of CLG, there was a reason that Nien looked so heartbroken going into Game 3.
Oh my god, that picture! I want to
There's
show
a
it.
lot of reasons why Neon looked heartbroken, but sure. Well,
That game pretty much was CLG's until Xpecial was able to land a thresh hook onto
It was flash hook, right?
Orianna. Yeah,
That
the
was a
flash
flash
hook onto Link's Orianna in the mid, and
who had a flash? He could have flashed it.
yeah, and that just spiraled out of control. And TSM won, I want to say, 2 or 3 consecutive team fights after that. They were able to take 8 towers in roughly 8 minutes. When up to that point, they had only taken 2 towers this entire game, and they were definitely on the back.
And one of them was a trade off of the start.
Yeah, so it was
Talk about snowball.
It was a huge turn of events.
No,
And
you want to talk about Snowball, is Nien getting 2 kills, and then simultaneously, while that hook happens, he dies 1v1 to Dyrus. Like, come on, kid.
Was it?
I don't think it was his fault, to be honest.
Really? Was it? Do you think he was just distraught? Like, oh, I'm watching the game up here. I died over here. Is that what got what's going on?
No.
He had a skirmish with Dyrus earlier where he used his ult trying to fight him, and then Mundo dropped to like a 4th health, and then ulted back, and then he just stayed. He stayed, and he had 2k gold to spend. Like, no reason to stay. His team's doing something else somewhere else. He doesn't need to be applying pressure right now. He could have gone back. He could have played it safe, but no, he got caught and he died, and it just helped the snowball.
The problem with the Mundo is you can't really disengage from it. Like, unless there's a minion wave there, it's really hard to disengage.
What? No, he literally missed the ward jump, and that's why he died.
No,
so
well,
he could have.
You saw the animation went off though. Like, I honestly don't know what happened with that ward. I saw it go over the wall. I saw the animation happen.
That
I saw
side
him
of the
knock
wall
it.
is too thick. So I've seen a couple people mess up jumps on it. Like I've seen a Tristana mess up a jump there. It's a really dumb angle, but like it was doable. He had the ward. He had the jump. I think he could have done it if he would have played it better.
So that wasn't a bug. I thought it was a bug.
No, it's not a bug.
It's not a bug. It was just straight up fail, terrible.
I thought
Just
it was
has
in range.
poor ward jump placement.
Mm.
Because I've seen people do it over that wall. Like, I know it's doable. But
I think
not
the
over
way they were
wall.
describing it in the cast was that he put the ward too close to the wall, and so it read it as it basically being right up against the wall, and didn't. When he leaped, it didn't clear the wall, and he went back on the same side.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have saved him though. Like, it would have allowed him to get a teleport off back to base, but he would not have been able to back. Dyrus's job would be either to chase him down or to teleport to the Baron area where the other team fight was about to collapse on. Either way, I don't think Yen would have really had much of an impact. I think the worst possible outcome did happen to him.
I know that Dyrus wasn't even running flash as well. Is that something we're gonna see in upcoming just teleport heal?
I doubt it.
Not anymore.
No.
The heal nerf's coming.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mundo's
4.6, right?
Yeah, Mundo is
Yeah.
really good because he can escape. Like, when he hits his ultimate, he can still run really fast. He'll be able to sustain through most of the damage that can come out, and unless you bring in Ignite, which you have the heal for, you're not going to be able to kill him. He can just run away and just come back when you leave. And that's Mundo. He doesn't necessarily need Flash, especially if he's splitting.
Do you think with the nerfs coming soon, do you think that 30% movement speed is going to go to cleanse?
I hope it goes away. Like, it's unnecessarily overpowered at this moment. There's really just only a few choices for summoner spells, like Smite, obviously, on your jungler. Teleport top, because the global map presence is such a huge part of the meta right now. and then it's the toss-up between exhaust and heal. Unless you're running an assassin mid, then you run ignite, but the exhaust has really hurt assassins in the current meta, and so has heal.
Okay, so game 3 runs around, and CLG is, from my understanding, was distraught of just what was going on. Why were they just so? Why was it one-sided? Is there a particular reason, or is it just be like that last game and half the game was just so detrimental to their morale?
Talking about
Is
game
that
3?
Yeah, I'm talking about game 3 of TSM and COG. What happened there?
Exactly how game 1 was played completely into
Mm-hmm.
CLG's game. Game 3 was played completely into TSM's game. Like, every single one of their laners is just as good or better than their counterparts. And so CLG had no reason to play standard against TSM. Like, they were asking to lose.
Yeah.
Why did they not ban LeBlanc? They banned their last ban was Thresh. Like, was it that detrimental?
I think it goes into what happened in the game before. They lost the game before due to well-timed thresh hooks, and they didn't want that to happen again. So they made a completely reactionary ban as opposed to sticking with their strategy. And I don't think they would have banned LeBlanc anyway, because the last 2 games they had been banned using that last ban on Syndra, which must have been some kind of secret tech that Bjergsen had been running in scrims or something.
I doubt they'd scrim. They probably just pulled it off of OPGG or kind of like looked at what Syndra does. She has great wave clear as well as pick potential, very high burst. It's very difficult to deal with a good Syndra, and that could just be what he's been practicing the past week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the big thing to look at with that third game is just the mentality. Like, the thing that TSM has always done better than every other team is when they get a lead, they step on your throat and they do not ever let up.
Yeah.
And that's what's always been their greatest strength. And great teams like CLG and Cloud9 are usually able to work around that because of their exceptional rotations and picks and timing plays and objective control and vision control. But when they were so far ahead in game 1 and they were so far ahead in game 2, CLG was probably already thinking they were on to the next round. Okay, now we got to play the next series. We're starting to plan for the finals, and they lost a step, and all of a sudden, before they had any time to even react, they got pick after pick after pick, and now their Nexus is exploding, and they just had nothing in their motivation and confidence going into game 3, and TSM smelled blood and didn't give them a second to breathe throughout the entire early game, and there was nothing CLG could do to recover in their mental state.
I think it's interesting to note that in Game 3 they actually went back to kind of a primal tactic where the Odd One would do a great job counter jungling, and one of the big lead ups to why they were able to take the game so dominantly was they were able to deny blue buffs. They were able to, because it was a very standard game, you know exactly 720s when their blue's going to spawn. We know that that's a very highly valued buff. It's going to be protected. So let's go invade it. Let's go take our blue. Let's go take their blue buff. And they were able to deny the blue buff to Nidalee, and then Odd One was just able to just power farm up. Let me see. He had a 16-minute Feral Fire, which is about on par for most of the Nocturnes. If you're doing well and you're ahead, about 16 minutes is a good time for your Feral Fire. So just this amazing control over both jungles really set CLG super far behind, and without the chaotic nature of, or kind of like the controlled chaos from the 2v1 fast push, it really reverted back to a very primal TSM, control the opponent's jungle, and then control your own.
Especially after seeing Odd One pick a Feral Flare champion from Champ Select. That's what made me even more surprised that they went standard. Like, how could they expect to bring Nocturne out of his jungle and into helping out other lanes and keep him from farming his Feral Flare Feral Flare when you have Bjergsen being super dominant in mid. Like, he's not going to need help. And you don't, Nyers isn't going to need help against Nian. And Volaturtle and Xpecial are probably not going to need. I mean, like, you can probably use some gank spot lane, but that would be it. Like, in game one, he didn't get to stack up his Feral Flare because of all of the motion that was going on. Like, his team needed him, so he didn't get a chance to stack anything. But yeah, like, this was a perfect game for Ottawa to play a Feral Flare champion, and I'm pretty sure any game that TSM is going to go into thinking that they're going to play standard, like, with Feral Flare, they'll take it every single time.
With that being said, congrats to TSM for winning that, and they're gonna go off to the finals, which will be tomorrow. Cloud9 versus Curse. Pretty one-sided.
It was yeah, I would say. Like, everybody wasn't really expecting much out of Curse, and I feel like Curse had they've kind of like, the big burden was to not have to play for relegations, that even if they didn't beat Cloud9, they're still satisfied with their position. They would like to win, but at the same time, it's not the highest priority. I probably bet they were more invested into practicing to figure out what Coast was going to be doing, so they probably had a very good strategy lined up for Coast if they were to play them. Cloud9, maybe not so much. Maybe they reverted back to what they ran the early day. Teleport Mundo, Zin's out jungle, Lulu in the mid.
It was a solid game for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was a very standard game. I think
Yeah.
the only real weird one was Yasuo. Yeah.
When Voyboy plays a decent amount of Yasuo, I think the biggest problem for Curse is just they don't have big champion pools. Voyboy really has only looked exceptional on Lulu. Bunny Fufu clearly can only play 2 champions. Quas was touted as this guy with this crazy champion pool coming into the season, and we've pretty much only seen him on Mundo and Renekton for the last half of the season.
I think that's just like... Yeah, I don't think that's entirely his fault. I think that the team really has a lot of say in what champions that he can and cannot play. I feel like if we did move into more of the Jax, Riven, Aurelia meta, that he would be more than comfortable and happy with that. But because he's forced into playing the super tanks, the Shyvanas, the Mundos, he's going to try and make the best of it.
He even pulled out a Karthus once, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it was a great game. His Karthus was awesome. And his Renekton is terrible, but they keep going back to it. It's really weird.
Anything in particular out of these 2 games really stood out for any of you guys?
The Elise build was rather interesting. I would say it's the first time we've seen Elise post kind of her nerfs in kind of like a very competitive setting. A lot of people have kind of went to her, but they didn't really think about her build. They kind of reverted back to the old, well, we'll just get spared to the Ancient Golem, build the Haunting guys.
Intended is a really good example of that.
Yeah, it just kind of like fell back on the old way. And then Meteos actually did a lot of innovating. And his build, let me pull that up real quick here. He went a Spirit of the Ancient Golem into a Void Staff, and then took it a Locket of the Iron Solari with Boots of Lucidity, which gives him, I believe, a total of 35% cooldown reduction with the Locket, Spirit of the Ancient Golem, and Boots, as well as the massive amount of penetration from his spells. So he's not looking to do lots of damage like with each spell. He's looking to cast multiple spells and try and make each spell hurt as much as possible.
That Cocoon was on like a 2-second cooldown.
Yes.
That was insane.
Yeah, she was... It was one of the best Elise plays that I've seen from competitive play since 4.5, since I believe 4.4 when she was nerfed.
You can tell that the difference in the caliber of jungler between Meteos and Nintendo just from those Elise games. Like,
yes.
The builds, the way he went about playing her too. Like, yeah, Nintendo has some catching up to do. Definitely.
I think that was already been done, said that just from the get-go of the season.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to a not-so-one-sided game and relatively close, Dig versus Coast. For what was different on that game was They're playing for 5th place, and whoever loses is relegated and potentially be able to lose their spot in the LCS. Game 1. Trent, tell me about it.
Game 1 started out looking like it might be promising for Coast to have a decent series. I don't remember. Did Coast win the first game or
No,
they win
Dignitas won
game
with a
2 of
massive Baron
series.
fight.
Yeah,
went
that's
to
what
30
always
minutes.
happens to Coast. They never win the first game of a series, but they always make it a series. I
Cutie
feel
Pie
like
came
they
out
were,
huge in that game.
yeah.
He was
Cutie Pie had
massive.
a
He was like
great
10 kills
series.
and 0 deaths. Did he die that game?
Who?
Cutie Pie?
10 kills, 2 deaths, 10 assists.
2 deaths.
But he also had
He's massive.
357 farm too. He was huge.
And that was when Dig brought out the Karthus, which was awesome, and Coast were definitely not prepared for it.
Yeah. There were a lot of very big differences in creep score, and that had a huge impact on the game. Nocturne, the jungler, ended up with 286 CS, while the counterpart only ended up, or the Elise counterpart only had 109. The 80 carry Lucian had 357 farm. Corgi for Coast only had 268. So almost 100 CS difference between 80 carries.
One of the casters said that Elise was Nintendo's type of champion because she ganks a lot, and I'm guessing the opposite view of that would be a Feral Flare type of champion where you farm a lot. But I don't see Nintendo being like a huge ganker style Elise player. Like I think he would probably do a lot better with a Feral Flare champion, even though the last time he tried it, he didn't get it until like 22 minutes. But that's a separate case. What do you guys think? He should side to.
I think Nintendo is better on a team fight based champion. His Olaf was always really strong. He was one of the first to look really good on Wukong. I think he tends to excel when he can have more of an impact in the mid game than that needing to get ahead in the early game with ganks on something like an Elise. But for right now, that's probably just his comfort pick, and he's not necessarily somebody that adapts very quickly to sudden massive changes in the meta.
Yeah,
That was a pretty poor choice.
yeah, we saw him change to kind of emulate the Meteos build, which has just been played only about an hour and a half before, where he was also going Spirit of the Ancient Golem, Lucidity, and Locket to really bump up his cooldown reduction. And let me see if he did anything on day one. Coast day one, he did not. He played Xin Zhao and he played Nocturne. So he did Feral Fire junglers. He just his Feral Fires were extremely late. That's what I remember.
I think one of them was like a 22-minute
Yeah, his
Something
first game
ridiculous like that.
was 22 minutes, and his second one was after the 30-minute mark, and the game only lasted 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half after he had finally upgraded his Feral Fire.
Yeah,
So-
that was terrible.
Not so good on him.
Game 2. Back to pretty standard. Zion Spartan Shifter.
Zion carried super hard.
Yeah, he did outstanding. Like he's putting the fear that maybe Aurelia is a pick that people should start banning against or really trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think there's something there. People should start looking at Aurelia a little bit.
Really?
She's got the
She's
mobility.
been huge
she's got a
in
stun.
EU.
She's got sustain.
Coming back to the
damage.
meta, are we gonna see nerf Irelias? Is this what's gonna happen?
I don't think she needs a nerf, but I think
doing
she's
pretty good.
definitely viable.
Gonna come back, bringing the old Irelia back. Game 3, deciding it. What is going on with Coast?
Their game
Well,
was
let's
pretty terrible. They were both super scared.
They were whipping ults just to throw him down. Kiwi Kid, the dragon fights. It just really was a very sloppy game. Like if we're thinking LCS caliber tiers, these guys are literally fighting for their lives, their livelihood. If you win this match, you survive for the next 4 months before you have to worry about it. So they're either playing very spooked and as well as very anxiously. So we have a chance to make a pick. All right, let's go. Let's waste our ult, and then if you had held on to it 20 seconds more, a huge fight goes down mid, and that ult that you wasted was the reason why you did lose that fight. And to kind of reference that, in that final game, Kiwi Kid, they tried to get a pick onto Thresh. They thought they knew they were predicting that he would go down the ramp. He would get chain CC'd. However, Thresh decided to just turn around, and so the ult did nothing. Meanwhile, Coast were pushing down the middle turret with 4, and so Dignitas, who's prepared to make this pick, all of a sudden had to rush to their mid turret,
With no
which
ults.
led to a team fight. And because there was no way to chain CC with an Orion ult and a Leona ult, Coast were able to take the tower, I believe. They took the tower, and I want to say they picked up at least 2 kills without dying. So it was a huge mistake of just being very impatient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like both teams were really trying hard not to lose rather than actually trying to win. And that's, it's the most important game of their professional career at that point. Like, win it, and you get the next several weeks and months to just relax and recuperate. If you don't, then you're playing for your jobs next week. And rather than stepping up in that moment, they really just kind of played like they were afraid to lose, and that's not how you create a successful organization and how you become champions.
Yeah, if you have 1 week to prepare a match, and I'll leave it out there. Like a lot of these challenger teams, they keep a lot of stuff very hidden and covered. So trying to find research on challenger teams, it isn't as easy as it seems. As opposed to kind of LCS teams, you have a VOD library. You can go through and see kind of the evolution of a team, like and how they progress and how they think. As opposed to some of the challenger teams, you'll have an amateur tournament, an NACL match where they don't care so much. They're kind of just having fun, and so you can't really break down how it might plan out. As opposed to these are actually high intensity matches. They're really going to try hard, so it's a lot easier to kind of reveal your strategies. And 1 week is not a way to completely shift your entire paradigm of thinking. There's just not enough time.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we have moving on to day 3. Tomorrow, what's different about this day is that COG and Curse are playing for third place for prize money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just standings. And we also have the old clash up of TSM versus Cloud9 for first place, winning $50,000. Is that what's going on?
I think
believe so.
And the chance to represent NA at All Stars in Paris. And I'm not sure, but it's not been confirmed if their All Stars is important enough to get an additional slot for the region. I think it's it's not confirmed just yet, but may or may not be depending on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Predictions. Is COG going to be just still shocked from the TSM game, or is it just going to be back to the normal old way? COG is just going to stomp Curse, or Curse is going to revolt it back the other way and Curse stomps COG, or are we going to see 3 matches?
I think whichever team wins the first game will win the series 2-0. Because if Curse comes out and wins the first game, and CLG are still shattered from the matches
CLG's
today,
not going to be shattered.
then
They're not.
But if CLG come back hungry, then they are going to take out all their frustration on Curse, and they are going to 2-0 in 2 of the fastest, meanest, shortest games that you've ever seen.
I think they're going to be slow, methodical games from CLG. It's going to be a 2-0, and it's going to be one of those low-kill, high-objective base games. Because the nerves are gone. Like, it's already done. Maybe they're a little heartbroken, but it's whatever. Like,
Playing for a little extra dough on the side, that's it?
yeah.
Yeah, I think Curse are.
They're playing for pride.
CLG is going to grind this one out. They want to be third. They still like the extra money, and I feel like they don't maybe respect Curse as a
Definitely
team
not.
per se.
Well, the last
said,
time
like,
that
we're
they
better
played
than you.
Curse. Well, the last time they played Curse, they lost.
Oh, in week 11.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like a lot of the high class teams played like ass, and I don't know. I couldn't really
By
say
week
that.
11, they were also
You can't
locked
count
up.
anything from Super Week.
Yeah, it seemed like there were just people
That was
who
way
weren't
too
playing
long.
so fast. Yeah,
Way too long and different patch, different story.
yeah.
So
4.5 wasn't out, and
Yeah. Is it unanimous? COG is probably going to take this one.
I'm going to
Yeah,
call a 2-0 for CLG, and also Nian is going to mace everyone, and he's going to be MVP. I'm calling. No, it's not even a joke.
Next level strats.
Yeah.
Just
How
don't
about
pick
you
on
guys?
him.
Trent?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to not go with CLG, despite how rough that game 3 was. They're just all over a better team, and they're better at the pick and ban phase than Dignitas is. They're not going to give They're not going to give Curse what they want, and they're just going to take it 2-0.
How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I don't think Curse has got this one. I got to think. Well, clearly the bottom lane is superior. The jungler is superior. The top lane, that's really the only match that I'd say to keep an eye out for. We'll see if Quas is really going to go beast mode and really give it to Nian. But once again, I think all the lanes do favor CLG in one way or another, and the way if CLG can continue that game 1 against TSM and just bring it all together in those very harmonious team fights, it's hard to say CLG will lose any game, but it is possible. They did lose against TSM.
If COG loses and it's because of Nian, are we going to see a roster swap between the splits?
I doubt it.
I'll
No?
say no.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
He's too
What would be
integrated
really
into the team.
What would be really interesting, though, is if Coast doesn't make it back, then what is going to happen to Zion Shifter? Zion and Shifter, yeah. Because I think those are valuable players that should be on teams.
I feel like
They'll both get picked up by somebody.
I will give you probably one solid hint as to where they would go, and it's the team that starts with the letter D. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's what's gonna happen.
They will pick up.
Dignitas would be a 4.
I would say Dignitas, their weak spots are their mid and their top, and that is the easiest thing to solve. Just
Would that put them back on the map? You think that's pretty good,
Definitely.
solid lineup.
Yeah.
Right?
great
Definitely.
that's a huge
That's-
acquisition, but this is all hypothetical.
Yeah, that's a great team.
All right, TSM versus Cloud9. Who's representing NA and taking All Stars by storm?
3-1 C9.
Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Why is that?
I don't know. I'm expecting TSM. I'm expecting TSM to pull out something cheesy and take a game off of like a dumb level 1 or like I don't know. I'm just expecting something dumb and early to give them a lead, and then
And
like you said,
Cloud9 just gonna
TSM's not gonna let up, and they're gonna push that advantage and win that game. But after that, C9 will play safe and grind it out.
Your thoughts?
Oh, I think that TSM really has like the strongest performances when they have the opportunity to kind of scrim with Cloud9, and that's where they really get a lot of innovative ideas from. But I believe Cloud9 coming into this final week probably predicted that they would be playing TSM somewhere down the line, and kind of said like, let's not scrim this week. Let's see how you do on your own. Cloud9 is very innovative.
TSM.
I know this too. I know a little bit of their script schedule, but besides the point, I feel that Cloud9 really do come up with a lot of great innovative plans as well, and TSM kind of relies on their mechanical and team fight things to carry them to the next level. So I'm going to say that Cloud9 are going to win. I'd like to see a 3-2, but in reality, a 3-0 or a 3-1 completely possible.
Mm-hmm. Trent?
Yeah, it's Cloud9. I want to see Cloud9 and Fnatic play again so that we keep that rivalry going.
Yeah.
And Cloud9 they are as good as TSM or better in every direct matchup, and I trust Cloud9 to have more stuff up their sleeve than I do TSM, and they can execute better on newer things, and they adapt to patches faster than anybody else in North America.
Mhm.
And with this playoffs being on such a radical patch, I think that puts it in Cloud9's favor. I think TSM's a great team, and like Aldo said, if they get a lead in one game, there's a pretty good chance that they'll take it. So I'd say 3-1 is a pretty safe estimation.
I don't know. I think TSM's onto the Karma mid. I think they're onto something, guys.
Karma
Something
bans
innovative.
every game.
It
won't happen.
I'd like to see some more of that.
I'm willing to bet Karma will be banned pretty heavily.
You
I'd
think
say
so?
LeBlanc is going to get banned.
I don't think LeBlanc will get through. I think Karma's more likely to get through than LeBlanc.
Karma's pretty versatile. Like even if Cloud9 do want to pick it up, Lemon
Well,
Nation
Lemon
has been
plays
playing
Karma.
a lot of Karma,
Yeah.
so it's a
The
great
only thing-
flex pick
yeah.
for either team.
I am personally believing that Bjergsen with this pentakill today is so happy that he's just gonna OD on cocaine and with hookers, and he's gonna show up to show up to the game tomorrow, and Cloud9's gonna win it. So Cloud9 for me.
If he's gonna party that hard, Meteos will probably show up, so it'll still be an even matchup.
All right. Well, everyone says Cloud9 because we all hate TSM for some reason, and
Add it to the list.
yeah, add it to the list. That's a thing. Relegation matches. We have
So
Vulcan. I would like to say Vulcan. Huh? What was that?
Some
No,
theory
well-
crafting behind this. I know this
Yeah.
until tomorrow, but if you kind of look down the ranking point by point, sixth place team is Coast, and then they're going to go against the third place of the NA Challenger scene, which was Coal Black. Then you go 7 with EG, plays against 2, Cloud9 Tempest, XDG versus LMQ, best versus worst. However, I just want to kind of throw this out there that Coast have made some kind of interesting decisions before. In the last season, or when they were qualifying for spring this one, they chose, I would say, one of the strongest teams, the Walking Zed, to play against, when they would have had a much easier time versus a far inferior, I want to say it was either VVV or Cognitive Gaming. I can't remember which one.
It was
But-
cognitive.
Yeah, they chose the harder opponents. So I wouldn't put it past Coast to go against the Walking Zed again, which is kind of the reformation within Cloud9 Tempest. So that would be kind of weird to see, and we can go into that a little later. So I can't say for certain that it's going to be Coal Black Coast sixth place versus the last place. So kind of just paradoxical moment.
Oh well, if they do what we all believe or predict mathematically, Vulcan versus LMQ, EG versus Cloud9, and Coast versus Complexity Black. What are some of the predictions going down that list, and what do teams have to do, and what are your thoughts on the hype train of LMQ? Aldo, you can start.
Okay, so Complexity against Coast. I want to believe that Coast will stay in, even though it's pretty unlikely. But, I mean, you have seen those games from Shifter. Like, even against Cloud9, he was 10-0. I mean, they still lost that game, but that was just because it was Cloud9. Like, any other team, I'm pretty sure would have lost that. And so, yeah, I'm pretty confident that Shifter will come up with something. And then EG against Cloud9 Tempest is a little hard to call because EG's pretty rough. They have ups and downs, and C9 is fairly consistent. But yeah, I think C9 Tempest has a pretty good chance of going in. Snoopy isn't as strong as he used to be, and Pobelter's pretty good, but I mean, so is Bishu. So that could go either way. And the last one is XCG against LMQ. And LMQ has just been crushing souls. So I don't think this is going to be any different unless XCG has been running some sort of crazy camp and is really prepared for them. But yeah, that last game is going to be heavily dependent on Xmithy.
Trent, predictions?
I think there's a very real chance that we could see all three new teams coming in. I think of the three, I would pick Coast to remain, whether they pick Cloud9 Tempest or Complexity Black. Something just happened to relegation, and in best of fives, they find something, they react, they always win game twos, and they have game 2 and game 4 to turn a series around in a best of 5. So I feel like of the three teams, they have the best chance. XCG, I'm sure before the Challenger Series even finished, they've been planning on playing against LMQ. So they might have some stuff to bring out, but the fact of the matter is LMQ's bottom lane is just so much stronger than XCG's. If XTG does not get a perfect early game out of Xmithy, there's just no way that they're going to be able to contend with LMQ's late game. And Evil Geniuses is a team made up of people that never adapted to anything after Season 2 Worlds and Pobelter. And Pobelter's not a good enough player to carry anybody. No. He's a good player, and I think if he was on a Challenger team, he'd be really strong, or if he was on a team that wasn't Evil Geniuses, but he's not good enough to bring Yellow Pete back into the LCS, and I don't think we'll see the Evil Geniuses anymore.
Oh, man. So rough. Jera, thoughts?
Oh, let's see. So, in the place of Coast versus Coal Black, I'm pretty confident in Coal Black. I'm also working with them now, so I can't reveal too much. But
so biased.
Tell us every secret pick that you have.
There's some preparations. There's some heavy preparations going in here.
What's our lineup like right now? I don't necessarily know who's on Complexity Black at all.
You have Westrice in top, Broken Shard in the jungle. Proly is your mid laner, Robert X. Lee as your AD carry, and Bubba Dub as your support. So it's a lot of kind of the older.
Super good.
Yeah, so it's a really star-studded team here. Like there's a lot of
I think the only person that I've never heard of was the support.
Yeah, Bubba Dub. Yeah, he was really, really good in the last in kind of like the challenger scene, especially over the NACL season 1. Just one of the better Thresh players. But I'm confident that just the amount of resources that have kind of been going into this, I feel like it's a lot more than Coast is really prepared to dedicate themselves. Considering just kind of going over the tendencies of Coast, they tend not to. They tend to go with one or two strategies for the weekend, and adaptation is kind of they just have a little difficult time adapting. So I want to say Coal Black's going to win. However, it's not guaranteed. It'll probably be a close one. Evil Geniuses versus Cloud9 Tempest. I would want to say that Cloud9 Tempest will be very confidently taking that series. Just their solo lanes are just a bit stronger, as well as how they combine for the team fights. It's better than kind of let's just let Inox kind of run his own thing, and maybe Pobelter, if we give it an assassin, maybe this will work out, even though it's 4.5 and assassins aren't really in vogue. So I want to say that
issue all the way.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of them, and really I'll probably be one of the only few that does call the upset of XCG versus LMQ. Just without going into too much details, in scrims, XCG look very strong. LMQ, they're still a very strong team, and they also produce great results. However, just how XDG can pull it together, kind of showing their aptitude. They are they're actually one of the better teams, believe it or not. So if they're kind of keeping things under wraps and they're really preparing, like it shouldn't be as one-sided as everybody's really predicting.
Experience really does go a long way.
Yeah,
So-
LMQ is a fairly linear team. Like it's pretty simple to figure out what they're going to do, what picks they're going to do, if they do get these picks, what strategy they're going to revolve around. XDG is a bit more dynamic in that fashion.
Even when they play so well individually though that it's still hard to stop. It's like a mini TSM.
Yeah, Xiao Wei Xiao's mid lane farm is absolutely one of the best in North America. So that's something that can go into factor. So how is XEG going to deal with this? And then this is something that they could plan around. How do we want to shut Xiao Wei Xiao down?
I'm
Or
curious to see
personally-
how
No
Benny
name.
is going to do against Ackerman.
I personally want to see Zhao Wei Xiao go against Bjergsen one day. I definitely want to see that.
Oh, they do in scrims. They do in they're one of the.
I want to see it live. I want to see it.
There's
That's
VODs of they just randomly live streamed a couple of scrims a way while back, and TSM took all three
Oh my god.
in pretty convincing fashion.
How long ago though?
LMQ is not unstoppable.
It was a good couple months ago.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
with
unstoppable.
with
Yeah,
so
LMQ is very beatable. I think a number of teams in the NACL beat them. I know
Team
Team 8 beat them.
Teammates,
Cloud9
Teammates
Tempest
has
beat
the
'em.
most one. C9T took a game off them. I would say the most consistent team is Team 8. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
they went up against them in the first series of
that's weird.
Series 2. But
And
Teammates
got
are very
outpicked
solid.
so hard.
Yeah.
Oh, that game hurt.
So what you're saying is there is some belief in Dexter's tweet about XCG and LMQ 50-50?
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's
pretty
not
close.
going to be the LMQs, just they've been plucked out of China as the golden team when in reality they weren't really the best team. They were kind of the B team. They took
There's
like
a
4th out
reason
of
they were
6.
chosen.
Yeah, they were not they were not the best team in China, and they may have came over here for easier competition,
Yeah.
more opportunities. It's very difficult to say, but they are not the same caliber as the OMGs of the world.
Well, with all that being said, I know that the next event. Oh, is there something that you wanted to say, Trent?
Well, I just was going to say there's seems to be a track record of organizations from across the world coming to North America for easier entry and not succeeding. We had Quantic in the Challenger promotion for this year, EG, and now LMQ have a shot at it. But it seems like when organizations come over to North America, it does not work out well for them.
I think they're acclimated enough. I don't think that'll be as much of an issue. The whole Quantic thing was I don't know, kind of like the circumstance surrounding that. Their work visas expired the day after all of the tournaments, which is why they had to schedule all their games like in the first 2 days when normally you'd have them spread out over 3. They also weren't playing from home, which is kind of where they've been comfortable in doing that. Like the house was pretty much let go. They had to sell back the house, so they would stay at a hotel and they would have to go to a PC cafe to go and play their games. And the internet at the PC cafe was pretty terrible, along with Riot servers were rather bad that evening. And those were a combination effect of just the perfect storm that took Quantic out.
It was
But
really
that's
sad.
history.
Apple was really good.
Terrible management. Terrible management. That's what I have to blame there.
Hindsight, though.
With that being said, that's what we have to look forward to. LCS is about to wrap up. Our jobs suck now. Just kidding. The next event, though, I really want to talk about All Stars. Big event. Who's representing NA? We want to see the Cloud9 Fnatic rivalry, that international rivalry. Did you guys vote for Jat, by the way, for Hexa
Yeah.
kill?
Jad and I want to say Reaper Red. Reaper Red.
Really?
Reaper Red. Yep.
I voted for Shushe because I wanted to see Alistair mid again.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
And we should take a moment to acknowledge that all 3 world champions will be playing at All Stars: Fnatic, TPA, and SKT.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's
Well-
not the same TPA team, but sure.
Yeah, it's a completely different TPA team, but all three organizations are still
They're still around.
at the top. Fnatic has come all the way back to being a world-class team after disappearing in Season 2.
And
What has
also
Shushay
having
been
a
doing?
streak. Dragonborns.
Dragonborns? Is that what?
No.
He was in Dragonborns for a bit.
until they failed to qualify.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
I voted. I voted for Toys and Messiah. So those are
Yeah,
like
with Twisted
big.
Fate coming back around, Messiah would be fun to see.
Yeah.
Do you guys know if China's voting on that, or is it just North America and Europe voting for Hexakill? Because if China is voting, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Messiah.
I don't know if it's going to be as popular, but I imagine they have their own voting system.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that we should probably go over?
Do we have any questions in chat today?
Yeah, Q&A. Billy, give us the rundown on that.
All right. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them in chat. We got a little bit of a delay. I think it's like 15 or 30 seconds if you have anything. What we're going to do is, since we don't have our streams up, we'll have them posted to our Skype, and we can just go over them in here. Yeah, feel free to ask anything. Yeah, feel free to ask anything NA related, meta related. I'm sure us four can figure something out. We got Billy here to help us out as well, if need be.
Ask questions about why Soraka's so good, so the Jera will freak out again.
I hate Soraka so much.
She's so good.
When I don't know, I would say the biggest reason is if you, I want to say it was Fnatic this weekend, or rather this week, when they ran the composition with a Lulu top, a Soraka, a Janna, and the team fights went on for 30 and 40 seconds, and nobody was dying, and you couldn't do anything, you couldn't kill anyone. That just was like, Soraka has to be banned. Like, you can't make any progress in that way. And I believe Cloud9 did it like week 11, where they were just like, your team fights are irrelevant. We're just going to grind you to a pulp. Try and use your summoners. We're just going to keep hitting our buttons.
That was pretty sad.
Fnatic brought that comp out against Alliance, and it was so fun. They had a Kha'Zix, and just everyone was shielding the Kha'Zix, and no one ever died, and it was beautiful and wonderful and special, and you just hate Soraka.
I don't know.
This is a good question. Who would you replace in the end with? I love it.
Ooh. Wait, is that limited or across the world or just NA?
Should probably just be an NA.
Yeah, we'll say the free agent pool in NA, I guess. Being realistic, I suppose.
I'm assuming, Jared, I'm assuming you know everyone that's a free agent in NA.
Oh, I'm trying to think of like really good top laners. It's hard to say.
Cali Trolls, Vlad all day.
Cali Trolls is a loose cannon, man. He does his own thing, and
He just doesn't fit with the CLG.
No,
Like, that's the
not their
problem,
team.
is all the good top laners don't fit with what CLG wants a top laner to be, and that's why they like Nien, is he just
Which
does
is
what
they
tell him
had
to.
in Hotshot.
Yeah, he's very adaptable. That's the one good thing about Nien.
He's not, though. He's super awkward.
I don't know.
he'll
I
play
think he
the-
does a great job.
He'll pick and play the champ in the most awkward fashion possible.
I don't know. I think he does a fantastic job.
Not
I
fantastic.
like him.
It's not a fantastic job.
Would CLG pick up Zion Spartan if Coast loses?
No,
No, not at all.
Definitely not.
no,
Yeah.
their main carries are Double Lift, and Dexter for the most part. And to a lesser degree, if the game does go late, Link is another hard carry. Although he tends to be kind of the like a mid game scaler that's more utility based mage.
He's pretty supporty.
Yeah, he's.
I just don't think
good style.
CLG just don't need to make changes. Like, they're getting better. Like, yeah, they got beat by TSM, and yeah, Nien had a couple of problems and every now and then makes a boneheaded play, but they're a good enough team. They don't need to just switch up their roster just because they didn't win the spring split. They kind of need to just hunker down and prepare for summer.
MacNoon, please come here.
That would be godly.
No.
That would be really good.
Do you guys know if with All Stars? Okay, so let's say Cloud9 wins.
Yeah.
Or no, let's say TSM wins.
Okay.
Would Bjergsen still represent a player in the actual like exhibition game, or would Meteos go since Bjergsen is on the
I think
regular
Meteos and
team?
Doublelift go.
Yeah, Meteos and Doublelift go, right? Is that how
I think
how
so.
it's running?
Yeah, if your team doesn't qualify, if your team automatically does, then it goes to the next spot for the team that didn't.
Mhm.
Hey, we got a question.
So when C9 wins, it's going to be Bjergsen and Doublelift.
It's weird 'cause they're
Predictions
like,
on the meta shift.
yeah, it's kind of weird that they're gonna like, oh, we're gonna throw a team of like 480 carries and like a mid. This is the greatest team ever, All Stars and Jet. Don't forget Jet.
And Jet.
I think it's
All right.
stupid. I wanted to go back to the old way.
Read the
The
question.
meta?
Yeah, predictions on the next meta shift. What's going on with that?
Predictions on the meta shift.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There has been rumors of 80 carry items. I'm happy about that. No?
I don't know. I think they're fine right now. They get the
Yeah, I
job
think they
done.
were fine too.
Yeah, like until they find like, I don't know, like trying to itemize for an 80 carry is relatively simple. You want to do damage, you want to do a lot of damage, and you want to shoot things fast. Like unless they have a new 80 item that specifically does more damage to turrets, less damage to heroes, or kind of vice versa that way. I could see that item being kind of optimized and playstyles being done around it. But as far as just kind of locking in the 80 carry, it's a very straightforward class. You right click on things to deal the damage, and there's really no discrepancy between a tower and a champion. So unless you introduce a new plethora of items, it will be quickly figured out what the most efficient item is. It'll be a very mathematical process.
Bolo Chung asks, how hard... Oh, this is for Jera. How hard is it for an LCS team to buy out a challenger team's contract? Challenger player's contract, sorry.
They don't have to... Oh, okay. So for a challenger team, or for an LCS team to buy out a challenger player, it's really not that bad. It's really you just have to find a nice settling point. Usually what you're going to have to do is pay the initial fee for how much was the signing bonus. You will have to pay that back. You will have to compensate X amount of months of player's salary. And then if there's any other incidentals, such as when Golden Glue was signed from us, I want to say that Complexity did actually get more money to compensate the players to go find another mid player, which is kind of a trouble for Complexity Red. But I want to say, if you have enough money, it is entirely possible. It's not something out of the range of maybe $3,000 to $5,000 to buy out a single player. It's not as expensive as one would think.
Mm-hmm. Dominic Dej asks, SKT1 lost in the Yojan quarterfinals. How are they still going to All-Stars if they lost in the regional championship?
I'm
I-
trying to find an answer to that.
It was I believe that it's because what qualified them for All-Stars was the winter OGN, and they won that and
champions.
took it by storm and went undefeated. So that's what qualified them for All-Stars. The current tournament that they have right now has no say in who goes to All-Stars or whatnot. They already predicted that for months. That's why SKT1 wasn't on the voting for Korea, because they're being sent to All-Stars regardless of what happens. Dominic asks, what happens to Golden Glue now that Scar's back? Is he back on Complexity Red or Black?
Right now he's not signed to Complexity at all. I want to say that he's still going to be kept on the Dignitas roster for the meantime. And since they did qualify for the next season, I expect that once school gets out, Golden Glue will actually go and live at the Dignitas house. And whether he's just going to stay on as a sub or if they choose to bring in another player, that's really when the decision will be made. But as far as kind of the legal ways goes, he's contracted to Dignitas. Yeah, even though I believe if you go check his profile, he's still got some rank 5 teams with some of the Complexity Red members. And I want to say he's just been solo queuing a lot for the past few days, just trying to really sharpen up his champion pool. But as far as where he's going to end up, I can't tell. Without talking to him, I don't know.
All right. Well, this episode has been running over for an hour and a half so far. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. Shout outs or plugs you guys want to do? Jera, begin with you.
Let's see here. Shout outs, I guess I'll give my normal shout outs. Cloth5 for kind of getting me into the business. Complexity for giving me the opportunity to do a lot more analytical thinking. I want to write about the CLG versus TSM game where they had like the game one where they had the giant like coming together with the Nocturne Lulu. I think that's a really exciting thing, so I'll probably work on that this week. Complexity is really awesome. Mundoverse for giving me the opportunity to go and talk with people, and everybody here has been great hosts and great panel people. And of course the viewers for, sitting in here listening to me. Cheers to you.
Trent?
I wrote the second day Europe recap for LoL Esports, so go type on that on how I'm a good writer and I should write more things so that Riot gives me money.
He's a liar!
I know, it's super cool. I'll have another article coming out this week on analyzing the pick and ban phase of one of Alliance and Fnatic's games from this past week. So once that comes out, say nice things. And other than that, come back and watch us next week so that we can keep getting to do this, because this is one of the most fun things I get to do every week now. So I'm pretty happy about that.
I want your job. No, JK. Aldo.
I don't really have any shoutouts. Just
What?
Mundoverse. And,
What?
And Cloud9.
And Cloud9. Yeah.
Pray to your god.
What?
Pray to your god.
Yeah.
Balls.
Nah, he's fine. My real honey on that team is Lemon. So.
Oh, he's got the
Yeah.
beard
He likes
going on.
beards.
Balls is gonna be pissed.
Hey, it tickles in all the right places. Anyway, so
This went off the rails in a hurry.
yeah, no, it's just shout out to Mundoverse for giving me this opportunity and the fans for sitting through it. That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, I'm here to close out. Yeah, definitely. If you're watching this and just tuning in, you just missed one of the best episodes of all time. Well, I would like to say like, subscribe, do whatever you have to do, retweet, check out mundoverse.com. Without them, this gathering of people for NALCS wouldn't have happened. They've been a great addition for Runeterra Report. They've gathered all us together and talk about what you guys like and why you guys are on the stream. So yeah, definitely go like and subscribe, whatever you need to do. Or if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're tuning in live, follow Twitch, Runeterra Report, the Runeterra Report, excuse me. And other than that, this has been another edition, episode 3 of the Runeterra Report NALCS. I'm your host, Rob Leonix. Good night, everybody.